Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Podcast Assemble, the show where you come for your regular geeky download. My name's Tommy, and I'm delighted, as always, to be joined by my friend and co-host, who is across the pond. It's DL.
Hello, brother.
How are you, mate?
Pretty good. Pretty good over across the pond.
It's looking hot over there. You got a fan on?
I do have a fan on. It is hot. It's been a bit humid. Last 2 days, not so bad. But in this room, it just gets like an oven. It's like the only room in the apartment that
Oh yeah, I know that room.
that doesn't get AC.
What degree are we talking?
I don't know, man. It's too early for me to convert the Fahrenheit to the Celsius, which I still have to do. But it's toasty. It's like
Classic across the pond.
Yeah. But how about you, man? Is it still? You looked like you were wearing like a curtain earlier, like a robe of some kind. Must be pretty cold.
So my situation over here, the nearest like supermarket in quotation marks is like an Aldi, and you know how Aldi's always got that middle aisle that's like you go in and you're like looking for milk, and you come out with like a sombrero,
Curtains.
3 like maracas, and a fishing rod.
I guess I'm not an Aldi aficionado, but sounds pretty lit.
Dude, I love an Aldi, and they had this like, it's like a fleece hoodie thing, and I can't explain to you how comfortable it is. It's like wearing a hug.
So I think you just did. You just
it's amazing. It's the best. So I've taken it off now. Like I've just realized all the heating's on in this house. So this is the least clothing I wear all day. Thermal socks, sweats, and a t-shirt. If I've ever not got a jumper on, it's a good day.
There you go. I've got. I literally threw on what I was wearing last night. So you're getting second day clothes.
Oh, you're looking sexy. I like it a lot. Yeah, second day clothes. By the way, there will be time codes in the description if anyone wants to jump around. If you want to listen to us banter about our days, feel free. Otherwise, jump to the main topic. The main topic's a good one today. I'm quite excited to talk about it.
Yeah, it is. The crazy part about
in many ways.
Yes, we'll get to it.
We will. What have you been up to, buddy? Like, what's been happening? It feels really weird because most of the time in the real world, we'd see each other in the week and we'd talk generally about the stuff that's been happening. But it's just, I feel like I'm missing out on your life.
Yeah, it's almost like a little friendly catch up alongside a dutiful podcast. Dude, not like I don't want to bore people, so I'll just like not talk much about my week. How about that? I was working like an iBanker this week, which is never fun. And not like a banker of eyeballs, like an investment banker. I was making a joke about how much I've been grinding, which hasn't been fun. So that being said,
banking eyeballs would be a weird job, though.
Yes.
How would you even go about that?
You maybe I don't know. It sounds like
do you start by hunting the humans first, or do you?
It's like a Black Mirror episode or something. Yeah. Like, I don't know, dude. I don't even want to get into that rabbit hole.
Yeah, well, this goes out to lots of people. So let's not talk about
no, I finished,
whether Dre hunts humans for sport.
Why did you go to human hunting? I was thinking more like a future where you could pick your eyes and they're like AI. I don't know. Anyway, let's not do that.
My head went straight to that movie Hostel. Have you seen that movie? It's like a horror.
Yes, I have. That movie like scarred me as a kid.
Same for life.
Like, for a couple of reasons. Mainly because like it was the first like movie that I saw where like my family like it was like obviously rated R. No one knew I was watching it. And I was like preteen.
Yeah.
And there's just like lots of hot chicks in it that are naked. And I was like,
you're like, this is great.
This is epic. And I was just like super like into the movie. And then all of a sudden it gets just gnarly gruesome. And I was like, that's disgusting. A literal boner kill. Like,
literally, the worst thing was about that movie. So the first time I ever traveled, I was about 21. Yeah, I was literally 21. And I started in Southeast Asia. I went through Malaysia to Thailand, and then I went down to Australia. That's where I found my love for the country, and that's where I ended up. But I watched that movie the week before I traveled to Southeast Asia, and I was petrified. The whole flight over, I was sat next to this absolutely lovely American lady who was teaching me the ways of how you do long haul flights. I didn't know at the time that all drinks were complimentary. She got me absolutely hammered, and it was a case of I was petrified. I was trying to drink away my fear.
Yeah. Like you were worried that this was happening to you.
Big time. I was sure. Yeah. I was absolutely positive it was going to happen.
Yeah.
But so you haven't got up to watching many things then this week?
So sorry, yeah. I did look. I watched a couple things. I got something in last night. It was like the first night of me watching anything, which was
What'd you watch?
I'm on episode 5 of 6 of The Expanse. I'm digging it, man. I like the universe. I'm also, I said last week, so it's kind of like a repeat of last week. I'm reading the book. I'm very close to the end of the final book that they released, I think, earlier this year, called Leviathan Falls.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's so far it's at the ending, which is pretty. It's a pretty big task. This is like a 7-book series, or I think it might be a 9-book series. I forget.
Oh wow.
And each book is massive.
What are you up to? Sorry,
this is the final one. Whether it's 7 or 9.
So you're on 9.
Yeah, I've been reading this series for like 5 or 6 years,
Damn.
Every now and again I just pop in, and this is like they just released the final one, so I'm caught up. And yeah, it's so far it's up to the task.
Who's the author?
It's 2 guys actually, and he's got a page name. It's not his actual name. I think it's James A. Corey is the the pseudonym or whatever. And it's 2 different dudes that write the books together, and they are the biggest sci-fi nerds.
It's funny you talk about books. I was talking to my dad this week, so one of the reasons I'm home is to be around the old fam at the moment.
Yeah.
And he was talking to me about this book, and I've never heard about this, and you tell me if you have, but it's called The Wizard of Earthsea. Have you ever heard of this?
No. The Wizard of Earthsea?
Yeah, it sounds super lame in my opinion. But when he starts talking about it, it's about this young wizard who has no idea he has this magic, but then goes off to like a wizarding school. It sounds like a very common tale.
Yeah.
But the way it unfolds is that he gets tricked by someone because he's super powerful or whatever. He gets tricked by someone into bringing this like demon or this spirit thing into their world, and it's a case of he goes on the run from this demon thing, and it just like, look, I'm doing it no justice at all, but the way my dad was telling it, he was super pumped about it, super psyched, and I was like blown away by it. So I'm gonna get the audiobook of that, and I'm gonna listen to that in the week.
Fair enough. Sounds fucking high level.
Yeah.
Like,
oh damn, it sounds great.
Like very cerebral, supernatural.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a read and pass it on because I think if I like it, I definitely think you will.
Yeah, for sure.
Outside of that though, man, I've actually done quite a lot this week. I have been working pretty hard, but I've managed to fit in a few bits. And a couple of bits I forgot to mention last week that I'm just going to quickly throw out there at the top. Before I actually came back, I did manage to watch the new Matrix movie. The Matrix Resurrections.
Okay. Can you report back?
Yeah, your friend was right. It is not good.
It's sad because to me it was like always going to end this way.
Well, yeah, it's I mean, like there's all these references in it. Like it's obviously done by one of the Wachowski twins, which I think it's Lana who's done this one. But there's like at the beginning of it, so the whole point of it is that he is the Matrix in this universe is a video game, and Keanu Reeves' character is the one who created this video game, and it's like it's the literal the Matrix over the first Matrix over again. It's exactly the same story, but worse somehow. And they had like almost triple the budget, and it somehow looks way worse than the original. Like, I don't get it.
So help me understand. Spoilers for the Matrix, whatever the hell it's called.
Resurrections.
Resurrection. So is this like a continuation in the story, or just like a little side bubble?
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah.
Okay.
So even though, as you say, spoilers for Matrix Resurrections, even though they both died in the last Matrix movie,
I didn't even know that, but fair enough. Yeah, I'm not worried about
it. They did.
Okay.
They did.
They did. They are dead.
Yeah. Whatever. The machines found their corpses essentially and rebuilt them somehow. It's like a whole big point in the movie, but it's not very well explained or even really like built upon. It's actually pretty. It's not very good at all. I feel like the whichever Wachowski didn't do this one was the one who did the storytelling, the action, and wrote basically the scripts. Yeah. So basically, didn't have any of it.
The other one just did the dealing, like
the other
production.
Twin, yeah,
made the deals happen.
Essentially, yeah. And the thing I forgot to mention, actually, we talked about my flight over here, is I watched the movie Nobody. Have you heard of Nobody?
No, or Nobody.
So it's Bob Odenkirk, basically Better Call Saul.
Ah, okay. Oh yeah, I have heard of it. Yeah.
It's his version of being Liam Neeson. Yeah. I actually quite enjoyed it. Like it was a fun romp. Like it was that classic, older dude the bad guys don't think he's a threat, and he turns out to be like X whatever.
Does he pull it off?
Just murks a bunch of guys better than bloody Liam Neeson does.
You have a thing against Liam Neeson.
Fucking hate Liam Neeson. I mean, yeah, I cover the really quick bits. Then I'm filling in for you here. Obviously, like I've clearly had a lot of evening time. I did finally watch the end of The Witcher.
Nice.
Love to know your thoughts. Quick spoiler alert for the second season of Lost Witcher.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it did stumble towards the end. I think episode 6 kind of went back to, I think it was episode 6, where they're in that like kind of like Buddhist temple place.
Yep.
And the fire fucker,
the fire dude,
which was kind of a tacky.
He was a bit of a weird addition.
Yeah, and also just like the fire fucker running joke wasn't very good. You know,
I didn't even note that.
Yeah, it's just Yennefer says it like 12 times. Yeah,
the worst part of the show.
Yeah, I thought that like that episode was really needed to like like everything was building and it was like had momentum, and that episode really needed to like start the climax of the build. And instead, it like stumbled really badly.
Interestingly, I genuinely really enjoyed her character in this. In terms of the amount so like if she's coming from a 0%, she was up to like 35-40% in terms of liking her. Like I genuinely thought the fact they took away her powers made her more sympathetic. It made her more human, funnily enough, and it was just more interesting overall in terms of her character development.
Yeah, and I think they gave her like some interesting like plot mechanics, right? Like she
big
runs
time
from Aretusa. Is she gonna kill this guy or is she not? She doesn't. She runs away with him and not for him.
Finds Jaskier.
Yeah, the Jaskier plot. Like she was just
I liked him in this.
Yeah, he was way better. She was just doing a lot, and it was like usually in interesting ways. Like the whole Elven story with the like the what do you call it? The witch in the woods. That was really cool visually.
Yeah, whatever that was. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
I like that a lot. I like that plot line. So I think they just gave her more to do. And you're right. They also, it wasn't all about. She just wasn't like switching her mindset every episode. Like she was universally lost the whole season. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I think it was? I think it was the fact that you could empathize. Everyone's lost something, right? Like you can empathize with that. And she was actually a character that I was like, oh yeah, like she's lost everything. Like she's back to square one. Like she is that cripple girl again. Like without
in her mind,
without having the same looks. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah, sorry. Like in her mind, that is where she's at in life, and I found that way more interesting. But the thing I didn't like was at the end of it, they just sort of hit like a rerun switch, and now she's got everything back. It's like, come on.
It's not clear that she does, but I think that she does because it's like
she did.
The whole point was
she healed everyone.
Did she? Did she get it all back? I don't really remember. I watched it a while ago.
Yeah, she like healed like a bunch of the guys.
So, but I think that like that was tied together. Like magic needs a source, and she like took in that little fucking crazy djinn or not djinn, whatever it was. The
it was
witch.
The thing in the hut, wasn't it?
Yeah, the thing in the hut. She took that into her, so that's like her source of her chaos, I guess now. So like it came full circle, but you knew she was gonna get it back at some point, right? Like she wasn't just gonna.
I just thought they could have left it just a little bit.
Fair enough.
Just leave it a little bit. Give her, because that was when she was at her best. Anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed it way more than the first season.
Yeah, it was definitely better than the first. Yeah,
maybe we know what we did last time, and when the third season's coming out, we can do a review of the second season.
Sounds good. About that life.
I imagine it'll be fairly soon because it apparently had incredible ratings. It was fighting with Hawkeye for ratings in its final week, which is, most people watch the Disney stuff.
You mean like in terms of like viewers?
Yeah,
viewership. That is crazy. Although I did watch an episode of Hawkeye last night as well.
Oh really? The first one's I
think I got like halfway through one, to be honest. I fell asleep, but
yeah, the first one's you've got to give them time.
Yeah, look, it's like very kid banter. Ooh, who's the ninja? Ooh,
it gets
so
better.
Far it's slow.
I think you'll appreciate it.
It feels like it's going to be kind of like a Christmas season. Is that actually what it's going to be? Like a little kind of a Christmas style show?
Dude, the last episode was like a few days before Christmas.
Yeah, there you go.
You missed out on that hype.
No, I'm just saying like that's what it feels like. Is it going to have a Christmas tone? They keep mentioning Christmas.
Well, yeah, the whole point is can he get home to his family 7 days time
on the seventh day of Christmas? All right, yeah, that's fair enough.
We'll talk about it when we get there.
Right.
But the last one that you have to start watching, by the way, is, and highly recommend to anyone here, if you're of a certain dark comedic disposition like I am, is the new Peacemaker TV show.
Yeah, you've said there's a bunch of...
Yeah, spin-off from the Suicide Squad. It is fantastic.
Is it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Like the humor is just on point. Like it's all written by James Gunn. So, I mean, I was always going to like it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of him at his sort of worst in the best possible way of saying that. Like it's him being like taking his character to the fullest it can be and being an asshole, and it's really fun. And I'm even digging John Cena in this, who I never thought I'd like a wrestler as an actor.
Oh, you don't like the Brick?
The Brick?
The Rock?
The Pebble?
Don't you remember? My partner was like, "Oh, the Brick's in this." I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" The Brick. Anyway, he's
Dwayne the Brick Johnson.
He's done very well transitioning to acting. You don't respect the Brick?
I don't. No.
Okay.
No, I don't. Speaking of things, speaking of what we were talking about last week, did you hear this week that Avatar, continuing on from your dishonorable mention on the podcast last week of movies you're not excited for, it's been announced that they're apparently building a video game empire as well, with a game apparently coming this year.
So did they just announce it this year? Because we saw a trailer for this a while ago.
Well, they've only just announced the game this week, and it's going to be called Avatar Reckoning. And it's going to be an MMO shooter set in the film universe. Do you have any feelings, any thoughts about that? Would you play an Avatar
No,
MMO?
probably not. But
No,
I'm not a big
it just
MMO
sounds like
guy.
a cash grab.
Yeah, it does sound like a cash.
That's fair.
Yeah, A, I'm not a big MMO guy. B, it sounds like a cash grab. It sounds like it's going to be like a shitty
Sounds
mobile
like
gaming.
Such a cash.
Is it going to be on like consoles?
No, it's it's console. It's like it's getting pushed to all the major ones.
Okay.
By the sounds.
Yeah, I mean, no.
I mean, I thought you'd be so keen, considering you don't give a rat's about these movies.
No, like Avatar, I'll go watch the second one. It just sounds like a rehash. It sounds like The Matrix. It sounds like it's gonna be the same story over again.
I mean, that is like the game. I mean, like it's another bloody shooter, except you're gonna be blue. Like, who cares?
Well, MMOs aren't usually shooters, are they? So that could be interesting.
I don't think so.
It's a lot of like medieval stuff or like sci-fi stuff, like Star Trek, what is that game?
Or cyberpunk things that don't work.
That's true.
Did you also hear, speaking of video games, that Activision Blizzard were bought by Microsoft for almost a cool $7 billion this week?
So that's what I was going to say.
The big game news.
I was like, this is definitely by no means the biggest gaming news this week. The Avatar thing, because this is crazy. I think it's like 10.
Dude, I was just trying to transition. Come on, give me a break.
Oh, I'm giving you a break. I'm just saying, like, this is what people are talking about, and it's like
unbelievable.
I think it's like 10x what they bought Bethesda for. Like only like a year ago they bought Bethesda, didn't they? Maybe I'm saying it wrong. I tend to do that.
Bethesda?
Bethesda, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Bethesda. They bought them for I think a tenth of the price, like only 6 months ago.
Like a year ago.
Yeah. So it's pretty crazy that like they're 10xing that for. I mean, you get it.
Dude. Well, to be perfectly honest, Activision Blizzard has so many subsidiaries beneath it.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
They have everything from World of Warcraft to Call of Duty to Candy Crush.
Yeah. Activision. Don't they own Activision?
Yeah. It's Activision Blizzard.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that essentially they've bought up half the market. Like think Call of Duty is like the most played game of 2021, I think, online.
Yeah.
So like
it's best
just
selling
think how
as well,
much cash
usually.
they're gonna make from this.
Like every year it's the best selling.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I would hope they'd give it a bit of a shot in the arm, because some of the ones recently have apparently been. I mean, I don't play shooters, but some of the ones recently have apparently just been a bit lackluster. Especially some of the ones that are the future based ones, Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
So hopefully they give it a little shot in the arm and give it a bit of a shake up.
I think they'll probably just let it run. I mean, like, how can you create an innovative game if you're making it every year? It just seems like it's just impossible to innovate. Like, you're constantly just.
Don't they make multiple of those Call of Duties a year as well?
They used to like switch off. I don't know if they still do, but there was like 2 different studios, and like each year one would make the next one, and that's how they made it work.
Yes, I think that's right. And they've got so many different houses underneath them. It's crazy. I think the most money they're going to make is off Candy Crush, to be perfectly honest. the part of the market no one speaks about is sort of middle-aged women who sit and just play Candy Crush and spend money to get extra lives. Like, it's true. It's like the Pachinko machines in like Asia. Like, they just roll the money in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely go. They acquired them for $70 billion.
It's not $7 billion.
Did you say 7 earlier? It's 70.
It's not $70 billion.
It is.
Where have you seen this?
I'm reading it right now.
Oh my God.
Microsoft will acquire Activision Blizzard for $95 a share in an all-cash transaction valued at $68.7 billion.
Oh my God, you're right. Sorry, I completely wrote the wrong thing down. It's 70 billion. $70 billion is Dr. Evil coming into this? Like, who's buying this?
In an all-cash transaction. They are just cashed up.
I mean, Microsoft's just flying right now. Look, I'm excited. I'm excited to see where that goes. We were talking with a friend of the show and social media guy Lockie the other day, and I don't think they'll be making any of the games exclusive to Xbox. Like, think about the amount of money Call of Duty makes through skins and microtransactions alone on PlayStation. There's no way to do that.
They're not gonna know. They've been trying to go multi-platform for years. Before this, they were buying studios. Like, they're just trying to own the content. Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good way of doing it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, have you heard anything this week?
No, that you named most of the big ones that I had heard.
That's the big one.
Yeah, it was. Well, dude, was there anything else?
Don't fret. Don't fret. There's plenty of news. There's plenty of cool stuff to talk about.
I'm sure a list.
There's a few bits. I'm gonna reel off a quick one that I'm interested in first. Then I've got 3 or 4 that I think you're gonna really like the sounds of. Well, the TV show Invincible that I've talked to you about multiple times and you still haven't got around to watching. Don't fret, because the season 2 hasn't even started production yet.
Okay.
So it's coming. It will come by the sounds of it. The star Stephen Yeun revealed that, it's not quite happening just yet, but it's going to happen soon. But my understanding of it is that the animation style is quite low effort's the wrong way of saying it, but like it's a lot of almost like your Dragon Ball Z's, like it's very minimal movement on screen, and then you have a big action scene, and then very minimal movement on screen. So, I mean, probably that side of things won't take too long. I guess it's just more adapting the story. So,
yeah,
I'm excited for that. I hope it stays faithful. The first series, you will watch it eventually, is phenomenal. Like, it's out of this world. So, hopefully, fingers crossed. Well, anyway, did you also hear this week the Batman has been officially rated PG-13? What do you feel about that? That's had some fans angry at the fact it's not been an R rating.
Did you think it was going to be an R rating? I thought we talked about how it was going to be.
It's a Batman movie. Like, of course it's not going to be R rating. They want as many kids in there as possible.
You never know, man. The Joker was the Joker PG-13? Doubtful.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a pretty heavy film for a 13-year-old to watch.
I mean, yeah.
Anyway,
they made, it's more about like swearing content and blood and stuff they can get away with. If they can tweak it just enough, they usually get away with it.
Fair enough. I look, I don't really care that much. If the joke, I guess that's my barometer. Like, if the Joker can be PG-13, that dealt with some heavy shit. It's not like it was like white watered down, like,
That's how Chris Nolan pitched it. He was like, "Look, guys, this is heavy shit. Just help me out."
Fair enough.
No, man, I think it's gonna be great.
No, wasn't there some stuff about the Moon Knight as well?
Yeah, I was gonna bring this up in a moment. The Moonlight? That's not the same thing. The Moon Knight trailer dropped this week. It's Oscar Isaac, man. It's coming on March 30th. That looks so good.
Yeah.
Did you see the trailer?
I haven't, but I did remember seeing it in one of my Marvel Instagram feeds.
Dude, it looks so good. It's way up my alley, and he even tries out an English accent, which ironically is somehow better than Benedict Cumberbatch's New York accent.
I wonder if it is. I just can't really see his English accent being very good. Are you being just kind to him because you like Oscar Isaac?
I mean, it's very possible. But then I like Benedict as well, so I don't know why I wouldn't be kind to him too.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Speaking of Benedict, though, did you also hear this week that the reshoots for Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness have apparently wrapped?
That wasn't very long.
It's been a couple of months. The rumors, they were saying it was significant, the reshoots they were doing, and suggested that they were filming more cameos. We talked about more cameos coming for Morbius last week. Do you think they might be maybe trying to squeeze in a Spider-Man or two?
I don't know. I just hope like the reshoots aren't a bad thing. Like the movie, it seems like it's going to be a pretty hard one to fuck up. Like they've made some really cool choices with what they're going to do, and now I'm like, okay. Like, how do you mess this up? Like, Benedict.
How do you mess it up?
Doctor Strange versus Doctor Strange,
and Scarlet Witch. Well, I might have an idea of how they could fuck it up, if you'll let me.
Yeah, theorize.
Well, you know how I said that I would do anything to get Miles Morales in the MCU.
Oh, so you're talking about what's his name?
There were a lot of rumors about Jaden Smith coming for the role, and
fair enough.
That could be one way you could fuck it up.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Oh man, no.
I don't think that he has like this mass appeal, does he? So like, what's the draw? No. Because if you're not going to go with like, if you're not going to go with someone that's like very unknown and go for them because they're good and they fit the casting role, right? But it's a risk because they're unknown. Like you'd want to go for someone that's like gonna have a mass appeal, and I don't even think Jaden Smith has that. If you're going for someone famous
or generally a good actor,
well, either thing.
He's not that.
Yeah, either thing.
Did you ever see After Earth?
No one did.
Bad film.
No one saw
that.
Yeah,
exactly. I watched it on an airplane once, and it was the worst film I've ever seen.
Speaking of watching movies on an airplane, that's when I watched Our Main Topic.
Oh, really?
I watched Our Main Topic on an airplane, cup of whiskeys deep, on a Xanax. So...
Oh man!
Imagine,
imagine
watching this film.
I'm excited to hear how that goes with some of the themes of this movie.
Yeah.
Just one more bit of news before we move on. Did you see the Lord of the Rings teaser dropped?
No, I didn't. Was it any good? Was it anything, or was it just like the Lord of the Rings?
It wasn't anything.
Yeah,
it was a bunch of like scenery shots, but they did give away one tidbit, which is that it is coming on September 2nd, which I am pretty pumped for. Like. I feel like anything's better than those Hobbit movies. Those were just the pits. So I feel like it's got a lot of budget behind it. It's going to be great.
Although I did like the Schmaug casting of Benedict Arnold.
Who?
Cumberbatch, not Arnold. Benedict Arnold is a historical figure.
Hey, look, guys, if you've heard anything we haven't talked about this week, hit us up at Podcast Assemble on Instagram or the podcastassemble@gmail.com. Let us know. We love to hear the news. We love it. We love it when you send us memes. We've got a great meme to talk about at the end of the show from one of our correspondents. But anyway, final bit of news before we move on to the main topic. So this week, it was the Rotten Tomatoes award season. And Rotten Tomatoes gave a Golden Tomato Award for the best reviewed fantasy sci-fi movie of 2021 to the movie The Green Knight.
Fantasy sci-fi.
That means literally nothing, but that's the best I could come up with as a segue. I feel like that's
the Golden Tomato.
Yeah, I mean, how prestigious do you feel that is? I mean, we obviously talk about we don't really give shit about award ceremonies, but like, do you think there's a ceremony? Do you think
I don't know, but like. That's what I took away from this, the Golden Tomato.
Yeah.
It's probably a pretty good marketing material.
The Green Knight versus the Golden Tomato.
Look, it seems like it's a movie that would be critically... I haven't even looked, and so we can do the IMDb stuff, but it seems like a movie that would be critically acclaimed and very, very much audience loved, beloved. So
absolutely.
I could see how it got the Golden Tomato.
Yeah, I mean, well, why don't you then preface our main topic?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. The main topic is The Green Knight, produced by A24, which is that same studio that we've been talking about that does everything.
We couldn't remember the name of.
Yeah, we couldn't remember the name of, but now we can. David Lowery directed. You got Dev Patel leading, and it's follows.
It's that cast.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people in it. But
let's just hang before we get there. Then, why don't you give me a stupid plot summary?
Yeah, my stupid plot summary is super easy. Dev Patel enters the Arthurian medieval metaverse. It's basically this film.
It's basically this
right.
film.
I mean, am I understating this?
I mean, mine's probably like I've got two, right? So I wrote one when I was watching it, and you would definitely get my feelings towards this movie from that. But then last night I was half asleep, and when you have one of those like light bulb moments and you're like, oh yeah, that's way better. So I'm gonna go with my second one, which is if the plastic bag scene from American Beauty was cut as an Arthurian period piece.
I don't know what the plastic bag scene. I don't get yours, but it sounds.
Have you not seen American Beauty?
I mean, it's been a long time. I guess I don't know. Maybe
it's just the bit where the kid is filming the plastic bag going like round in circles and just just being blown in the wind.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's fair.
Yeah, that's about right.
That's actually accurate. Yeah.
Well, can you guess the IMDb score?
I think it would be pretty high, but I don't know. Also, like when you think about. This is the source material is like Shakespeare-esque in its like in its like notoriety among like really smart
Arthurian,
smart people, like scholastic folk. So I'm kind of like, will they be like, this is not, I'm going to give it like a 7.5 because they may be bringing it down, being like, this is not true to the poem, nerd.
I don't know. I think maybe that's how I would have seen it for like maybe a Metacritic, but these are just wild, these scores, and I'm just baffled by all of them. Okay. So the IMDb is actually a 6.6.
Oh,
so
really?
I think it's a case of people like me watch this, and I'm going to be perfectly frank with you up top. When I watched this, I was not in the right head space to watch this movie at all. So like, it was just not what I was wanting to watch. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But can you guess the Metacritic? Considering I just said this is wild.
So it was a 6.5. That would affect your viewing. 8%. 88.
Close. It's 85. I think. Yeah. I'm not confused by that. I'm like, I expect Metacritic almost to have like a, I don't know. I feel like people feel like they've got a higher
bar
opinion of themselves when they're putting a review on Metacritic. But do you know what the Rotten Tomato score is? Considering, remember, that this won the Golden Tomato for the best reviewed fantasy sci-fi movie of 2021.
Golden Tomato. I would say
Golden Tomato.
96.
It's 89. You were close.
How do you get a Golden Tomato and not even be in the 90s? What a joke.
I don't fucking know. Like,
you gaslit me there.
In fairness, though, do you know many fantasy sci-fi movies that came out in 2021?
That's a great point.
I feel like it's the only one.
And you're right. It wasn't even the best. It was just the best fantasy sci-fi. Fair call.
Yeah, it's not special. Yeah. Let's not give it a. Well, you mentioned the cast before. The cast is actually pretty great. Actually, Dev Patel, Alicia Vikander. There's some real cool people in this that maybe I didn't notice while I was watching it. But Barry Keogh, who is in The Eternals, is fantastic in this. Joel Edgerton's good in this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to mention Erin Kellyman. That's her name. She's Winifred, and we'll talk about that role in a minute. But she's the girl from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. She's the flag smasher person.
It is, yeah.
And it took me. I did not realize that at the time. I was like it took me forever to go back and be like, oh yeah, that's who
I honestly didn't realize that either. You're telling me now, and I'm kind of like, who? I don't remember her in the movie. What's her role?
We'll talk about it. But she was the one who was beheaded, and he had to go and find her skull.
Yeah. Oh yes, that random little sequence.
Yeah,
the whole movie feels
aside.
like a freaking dream, to be honest.
Yeah, let's talk about that in a minute. Look, I've just sent you a message. Obviously, this is making it a lot more random, but let's talk goofy IMDb pictures. I don't know if you've got your phone with you, but I've sent you two.
I see it. What the fuck am I looking at?
So I've sent you the current MVP, which is Martin Starr. You remember Martin Starr, who is the crazy psycho looking through a hole in the wall?
Yes.
Now, this week's nominee is Anthony Morris. Now, can you describe Anthony Morris's IMDb pick to the listeners?
He's a clown, but like a Kiss clown in makeup, like with turquoise, like literally turquoise hair.
Yeah.
And 2 guns that he's putting to his head, like he's gonna blow his brains out. This is like giving me anxiety just looking at, to be honest.
It's
it's
a lot.
So this is his IMDb photo. Is this a big actor?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, adds up. Yeah, like I guess if you want to frighten children to into adulthood, like this is a great way to represent yourself. No, I don't want to vote for this guy because I don't want to see him again. He's giving me anxiety.
No, that's fair. That's absolutely fair enough. I let's stick with Martin Starr. Our current MVP is absolutely smashing it right now. I actually really like that Martin Starr's IMDb pick. That Anthony Morris one, I was like, it's goofy because it's nonsense. He's clearly trying to pigeonhole himself and not doing a very good job of it.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about it? That's frightening.
What is it? What role is he trying to get here?
I don't know. The Joker, I guess.
Is this his headshot? Yeah. You're totally gonna get the Joker. Actually, did you hear that this week? I forgot to mention Willem Dafoe. He said he wanted to be in a Joker movie whereby he was like an imposter Joker, and so like he was an imposter Joker and he was playing off against whoever the real Joker was in the movie. I think that'd be so interesting. Willem Dafoe. Oh man, stop.
with great ideas as well. Look at that. He can act and he's got great ideas. I saw some video of him as a young, was it you who sent it to me on Instagram?
Damn, he looks so sexy when he was young.
It's crazy. He looks like the same dude, just like younger. Like it's like his face is so distinct.
He's aged really oddly. I feel, I don't mean to be rude. Yeah,
I don't think so. I think like you look at that guy and you're like, okay, that's who he is older. Like it adds up.
He looks like a young Brad Pitt.
I don't think Willem Dafoe's like ugly. I think he's just like an older dude that's got like
I think I've seen him as the Goblin too many times.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Well, man, let's talk about this movie. I'd love to talk to you a little bit about it because I mentioned before, like I probably wasn't in the best headspace to watch. What was it? what a fancy sci-fi movie around Arthurian legends. It's based on a fucking poem, man. I'm like, what the
so do you want to preface it? This is like a fantasy retelling of like a very famous medieval story set in
it's a poem, man.
The Arthur,
but yeah, it is.
Well, it's like a poem that's become an epic. Like it's like
I mean the basic overview is that it's King Arthur's nephew, right? Or at least he is in this universe. Gawain, however you want to say it. It's said multiple different ways in this movie.
Patel.
Yeah. Dev Patel, and he essentially is trying to prove that his knightly qualities by taking on this Green Knight dude who's this sort of sci-fi looking tree man, and then has to go on a quest of self-revelation just to oppress all these knights who seem like arseholes anyway. I was like, what am I getting into here?
You don't like this stuff, do you?
No, honestly, on the usual I do, but there are a lot of little things that I'm probably going to talk about while we're going through it that just really held me back from enjoying the movie a lot. But you tell me, like, what did you think? Did you like the story? Like, what did you think?
Look, I thought this was like, confusing, but it meant to be.
Yeah.
Like, it's not an easy movie to consume. And to be honest, I'm like attracted to those kind of movies that like force me to think and figure out, like, and you're right, they're not for every day. Like, I would not have wanted to watch this movie last night after having gone like a 16-hour days at work for a week. Like, I don't need to think about, I just need to be entertained. Right.
For sure.
But like when I'm not feeling that way and I'm like actually got like some energy to dive in, this is the kind of stuff that I do like. So I was really into it. Yeah.
Well, I think one thing to call out really is that it's, if I'm perfectly honest with you, I feel like the trailers do it. On one hand, I want to say they do a really good job of subverting expectations, but on the other hand, I want to say they literally lie to you. Like,
the tone is not aligned.
Not in the slightest. Like I thought watching the trailers coming into this, it was going to be that big, brave, chivalrous tale of like some Arthurian awesome dude who was going to be like, he was going to go to like fulfill his destiny. But then you watch it and it's sort of this meandering, slow, pondering sort of question about time and what time means and
death.
Doesn't have and death. And there's like one thing I noted very early on, where like there's no like hero arc in this. In fact, there aren't any heroes in this.
Something about you said stuck out to me, which is like you thought it was going to be this this crazy film about destiny, and it is about destiny. It's just about, the fact that like it's almost like a subversion of that, and we'll talk about it I guess later, but
sure,
it is about destiny. It's just not this it's not this tropey destiny film. It's like
it's absolutely not tropey at all.
Yeah.
I did like how it lent on a lot of horror elements at times in the movie. I felt some of the background building and the use of music and sound was just super interesting. So there's a scene in it we'll talk about in more depth in a moment when he gets captured, and it's this sort of like ponderous thing on like if he stays there what'll happen to him, and you get all these noises that happen like the forest noises, and there's like flies, like and
the quintessential cut of the film.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think that might even be in the trailer, but there is also a scene later on when Alicia Vikander's character is playing her second role, the lady, and she's doing this like long speech that gets more and more aggressive, but they also start playing those same sort of noises, which brings in those horror elements. And I'm feeling like it's like you said, it's this sort of questioning what is death and what is the meaning of death type feeling.
Oh yeah, and what is life, and like what I think, and those two scenes are meant. It's great. It's great that you caught that, because I wanted to talk about that. And we can't really talk about it until, well, we can. I guess like it's really hard to spoil this movie, to be honest.
I mean, it's a centuries old poem, so
yeah. Well, and also like it's very unclear what is happening. So for me to say I spoiled it would mean that like my interpretation of the film is the canon one, which I don't think anyone can.
Well,
say.
let's just keep away from the main plot points and just talk around it.
So
that makes sense.
But in that cut that you talked about, I think that was purposeful. Like bringing back those sounds, completely. It was for sure purposeful, which we'll talk about in a bit. I think with themes.
Yeah, we will, and I liked that. Like, I thought that sort of. I thought that juxtaposition of him essentially trying to decide his fate and which way it was going to go was really interesting. I think the one thing that really lost me in this movie, and part of the reason why, I said I probably wasn't feeling it when I was watching it, was that, like, so this is his trial. This is like big. This is his sort of like arc. But to see someone go through so many self-revelations and so many like tests and not learn a single thing the whole way through the movie, I'm like, I can't get behind this.
Well, I don't know that he doesn't learn anything, but
sorry. All right,
let's save that.
Let's stay away from that. But in the perspective of, from my perspective, I felt like the lessons he learned weren't the lessons you would expect from this type of movie.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's my perspective.
No, fair enough. So what did you think about the acting? Let's stay on the cast, because we're kind of jumping around.
Yeah. Okay.
How did you like Dev Patel's performance? Yeah.
Yeah, I genuinely did. I thought he was maybe a little old for the part he was supposed to be playing. It felt like he was supposed to be going through the sort of, the Peter Parker, the puberty analogy, right? Where he's coming of age almost. I felt that was the tale it was sort of trying to tell, and he's obviously a man in my eyes. Like I might have looked at it completely wrongly, but so, and I just put the note here that his naivety permeates the movie and frustrated me the whole way through, and I think that was it, trying to capture that sort of youthfulness of the character, but it just came across to me as him being a bit pig-headed and naive. Which is good. It's good in a way.
Yeah, I think that's like the point. So like I would say, like, you're right. Like the traditional story like this, where Arthurian Knights of the Round Table, Find Your Destiny, is a coming of age hero's tale, whereas this one is more like an introspection on like what is a hero, right? Like, and I would say it's almost the opposite. Like this guy had like a bit of a failure to launch moment. Like his mom in the very beginning of the film is like, dude, stop getting drunk and whoring around. Go make something of yourself. So I think it's like he's meant to be.
I was the same until I was about 30, so I feel him.
You identified with that?
Yeah, I really did. Maybe that's why I was so frustrated by it. I was like, fuck, I see so much of myself in this guy.
So he's obviously, I think he's meant to be older, and like this guy that hasn't done anything for his age, and they're kind of like, dude, are you just going to be are you just going to basically just sap off your mom the rest of your life, do something?
I mean, I liked a lot of the performances. I mentioned Alicia Vikander before. She plays this really cool dual role, and without going too much into it, in fact, there are a few times in the movie where you see potentially like mirror images or reflections of characters throughout, but there is a point where she literally plays herself in a different role in this. And I really liked how she did that. I thought it, though the pacing of that scene kind of threw it a bit for me, I genuinely thought that was a real highlight of the movie, her playing sort of the same but completely different character. Did you like that?
I didn't understand that. I was so confused that it was the same actress.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about that.
Was there a point to that, like plot wise or like thematically? Like I just didn't understand why it was the same character. Maybe I was too caught up on that, or the same actress.
Well, I mean, when you look at that scene, there's sort of like reflections of different people within his life. So in that scene, there's a woman who has her eyes covered at all times, that doesn't get mentioned at all in that scene. Yep. Who is sort of, you would think is maybe a reflection of the mother, who has the same eye thing on at the beginning of the movie. Yeah. You got Alicia Vikander, who this is the version of her that he could be with the role he has. So like in reality, Alicia Vikander, he leaves back at the wherever the round table is. I've completely forgotten. Leaves back in his home. Is I think she's the prostitute in this, right?
Yep, she is.
Yeah,
Essel.
So she's a prostitute. So he can't be with her. But this is like the mirror image of that. This is a version of her who he could be with.
Got it.
But he's already married, so can't be with.
That. And then she tries to seduce him, and yeah, okay, that's cool. I like that.
100%. Yeah, exactly. So like I like the duality of those performances, and I remember there's a note about the guy who's the Lord as well, and I've completely forgotten what it is. I'll come back to it later on. It might even be in spoilers. But yeah, I thought the performance was really good. So that, like a minor role, Barry Keogh, I thought that he was like a fun trickster. I liked how he played that role. He was kind of terrifying for such a tiny part.
Yeah, agreed.
But what like I mentioned the pacing there. Like, what do you think of that, man? Like I found it frustrating.
Well, and I think you're like meant to. Like he's frustrated. I agree. Yeah. I think it's like you're supposed to be like confused. You're supposed to be frustrated. It's supposed to be dreamlike. I think that the pacing, there's some parts of it, and I'll talk about it in like the things I loved and things I didn't like. There's a downside to being so ambiguous, right? There is a downside to having a film that's like completely ambiguous the way this one is.
Yeah.
And I think the pacing sometimes could have used a bit more structure and focus, right?
Sure.
And it wouldn't have compromised the tone and feeling of the film. But I guess that's my take on the pacing. But I also think like it was meandering, but it was meandering in a beautiful way. Like it was a very visually stunning movie. And so like as you're meandering, it's like a beautiful kind of like journey. So I really did enjoy like the visuals.
I made a note actually. It's really interesting that this, we talked about the A24 picture house, and I think one of the things that they're going to be quite well known for, at least in the initial part, is that their budgets aren't huge, man. This was made on 15 million, and for that I feel the world they built was really lived in and really interesting. I thought it was visually really distinct. Like you get a lot of movies now. We make fun of Zack Snyder a lot, but all of his movies have got the same sort of like filter on it, like it's some dumb fucking brown Instagram filter that just or gray Instagram filter, like. And I'm not making fun of Zack Snyder. Like that's his visual style, but like the way they've made this with such a tiny budget, I find really interesting.
For sure. I mean, like, do you want to get into like cinematography and visuals?
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, go. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that was like by far one of the best parts of the film. Like the movie is like the textures, the golds, the greens, the black, the blues, the fog, like all together. You felt like you could like actually like feel the movie, like certain like even his jacket, like his little golden cloth, and then the green thing he gets later. It's like
I actually really liked that jacket thing. It was great.
It's just like super bold colors, and like I thought it was, and then like the parts where like you just suddenly just saw this like giant coming out of the fog randomly. Like it was just really visually stunning, and like it made me want to.
That was one of my favorite bits of the movie. Yeah, like the whole trip scene. Like I thought it was fantastic. The only I thought like you thematically that made a lot of sense for the movie, having that sort of really lived in world. In the sense of that it was more sort of forest based. So when I say lived in, I mean exactly, and that sort of really added to the layers of the movie almost. And when there's a great bit where he talks about when you die you get covered in moss or something along those lines, and I felt that sort of set up the tone of this movie. Yeah,
like death is rebirth and rebirth is death.
And pride cometh before the fall, man.
Yeah.
It does. It really does.
And how about like the scene where like the Green Knight comes in and the thing happens, and without spoiling, and there's just like
no, I mean like that's in the trailer, right? Like the whole
so the blood,
like, at the very beginning.
Blood. I was like when the blood just seeping everywhere, I was just like, man, crazy. That just is like a crazy image. It's like thick and like colorful.
So the way the movie starts, is literally the Green Knight enters into King Arthur's round table room, whatever the room is called, and challenges anyone in there who dares essentially to take him on in one-on-one combat. And the idea is that if any of the knights can land a blow, whatever blow it is, he will repay to them in a year's time, right? So but then they switch that on you, and this is in the trailer, so it's not really a spoiler. He switches on you because as soon as this prideful little dim-witted fool,
it really makes no
Gawain
sense.
steps up. Yeah, he just offers his neck, and you go like, you're like, even you can tell like it's a really good performance by Dev actually. Patel in that moment, he's like thrown. He's like, what is happening? Like, I don't understand this. So yeah, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, and I think that like part of the film, like the pacing is like you're not meant to. All you really understand as you're going through this movie is that he's going to his death probably.
Yeah. Like it's a death march, literally.
That's the only thing that you understand. Everything else is confusing, and so because of that, you're like in his headspace. You know, he's like probably quite afraid and quite like anxious. And I found that interesting that like you're meant to be confused the whole movie, except for the fact that you are marching towards a death sequence, and that's kind of aligned to the themes, I would think.
Yeah, it just permeates the whole movie. Yeah.
It's like you're
well, it's like literally what we've been talking about. It's that slow, methodical tick of time towards death, and I think that's kind of what
it's not something you can escape. And like the Green Knight symbolizes like something green, like which you kind of associate with like life and like vitality. In this thing, it represents death. Right? It's like the harbinger of death. Like,
the bit we did mention about that opening scene is that as soon as Gawain chops his head off, the tree man picks up his head, laughs at him, and rides off into the distance. Which, watching it, like, I mean, it's visually really interesting in itself, and then you sort of juxtapose that against the blood, the deep reds across the floor, and it's just like it's fucking really interesting. Like it's so interestingly done.
And then I think the other theme that I got from it is like one heroic deed does not make a hero. Like it's like a life. You're judged by the sum of your parts and like the sum of your acts, and that. So him going there and saying, "Yep, I'll do it. I'll jump in and fight this guy," and doing the blow. Like, nope, that's actually the start of your trials, bud. Like you're now in for it,
dude. Dude. All right, let's quickly scroll because I kind of want to spoil this fairly soon. Should we just quickly do 3 best and 3 worst?
Yeah, and I struggled with the worst, to be honest.
Okay, I've got a few,
but I will give it a go. I really liked Dev Patel.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
And what's his name? The Lord, Joel
Edgerton.
Yeah, I liked that whole dynamic. That
was a really interesting trial. That was one of the more interesting trials of the movie.
Yeah, I like that. The visuals and like the color palettes and like the textures like were really evocative. Like evocative, is that a word? In the movie, and they were probably the best part, like alongside the cinematography.
Yeah, okay.
And then just like really how fucking meta this film is. Like seriously, sort of trippy film.
Dre's favorite. Meta time.
I love the like vagueness, and I was on a plane, like half chilled out on my Xanax, watching this trippy movie. Like it was
I've never taken a Xanax, so I don't know, but it sounds great.
Yeah, it's just really relaxed, and you're like, whoa! It's kind of like a dreamlike state, and this is like this whole movie is like a dream almost.
This is a tough movie to watch in that state.
I enjoyed it.
Fair enough.
And yeah, those are my 3. What about you?
All right. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna preface by saying my 3rd best is actually my 1st worst, so it does flip over.
Mine is the same.
I've done this before.
Mine is the exact same.
Yeah, okay. So I've just said my first one is that I genuinely really liked the fact that it was a different and quirky, interesting take on an Arthurian legend. It's not often we get this type of adaptation where it does move away from that hero almost cliche nowadays. Like it's interesting that they found this sort of, I'm using the word quirky again, this quirky little poem, which I didn't know about. Do you know anything about it? Have you heard of it before?
No, I hadn't.
Yeah, and I really like that. I think and it builds an interesting world. When you see King Arthur, it's not the Arthur that we're sort of rammed down our throats. He's not this sort of big, all-conquering hero. He's like a wispy old man, and I found that real interesting. My second one was, and we've talked about this a little bit already, is that the low budget. I thought it made some really interesting choices. it had that sort of. Do you remember in the first or second season of Game of Thrones when Tyrion had just got away from the Eyrie and he went down to the battleground and he met his dad, and his dad was like, "You go and fight this battle."
And they skip the fight. Yeah.
Yeah, in the book they do this whole massive battle, but in the TV show they didn't have the budget, so they knocked him out in the first scene and the battle happened around him. It had that kind of vibe to me. It was like the story is almost happening around Dev Patel in many respects. You just don't see it. And I really liked the creative choices that made for.
Yeah, totally.
And my third and first worst is I like and disliked that it almost left everything up to your own interpretation. I found it equally interesting and equally really frustrating.
Frustrating. No, I have the same as my first.
Okay.
So my first one I didn't like. I was the same way. I think at the same time, like, while I love the vagueness and dreamlike state of the movie,
yeah,
at the same time, I think being too, I said this earlier, ambiguous can hurt a film because you're not really saying anything.
Well, yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
You're not really having a take. It's like you're sitting on the sideline, like, oh, cool, have all this crazy stuff. Like, now watch it and tell me what you think. And it's like, no, like you should have a strong take, I think, as a director sometimes. And you can counter that with a juxtaposed take that's also just as strong and have them, and then give that to the viewer. I don't think this really does that. I think it's
Agreed.
A layer down, and it's just really, really ambiguous.
Agreed.
Which was fun to watch on a ZNX, but I don't know if it was like potent, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
okay. We'll keep talking about that. Go on. What's your next one?
Yeah, I just wish so there's that part that's like more overarching, and then my next one is kind of similar. It's just like I wish there was more structure.
Yeah. Okay.
To certain parts,
point.
Like you could have had the plot have a little bit more structure, have a little bit more things that I didn't have to question, right? And it might have helped the pacing, and it might have helped me like enjoy characters beyond just Dev Patel, because he's the only one that really felt like had any kind of arc.
Okay.
Everyone else was kind of like a foil to him, like they were living in his world kind of thing. And my third, like, you know, I like the ending.
Yeah.
But I don't love it.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that. That's probably the first thing we'll talk about when we hit spoilers. But yeah, I'm with you on that, because that is a pretty big point, and it's one that I think we could do with talking a fair bit about. But so my three were, like I mentioned, it was ambiguous. Yeah. The second one was, I felt like it lacked any real character progression throughout. Like, and obviously we're going to talk about that ending in a moment. But it like I keep saying the word frustrating, and that's what it was to me. This movie, like the whole time I was sat there, like you're not really supposed to like the main characters. They're not really the hero or heroes of the piece. There's no one you root for in this film. When you think you're going to start rooting for Dev Patel's character, he does something and you're like, oh no, you're an asshole again. So that lack of like real progression annoyed me. And then my third one was, and I think where you saw ethereal and you saw like, you know, like I don't know, whatever your Xanax state was telling you, I just found it kind of boring at times. I really did, and it's not a great thing to come out of it. Like, genuinely, like I really liked this movie. I thought it was fantastic, but there were times when I was like, you could cut this whole scene, and I wouldn't change my experience of the movie, or it would probably improve it.
I think that's part of the problem with not saying anything. Right?
Yes,
making the movie all this like fluffy ambiguousness is like, well, does anything really mean anything then? Like,
100%,
you know, 100%. Does anything really have substance? Like, there's a couple pivotal moments, right? I'd say like the first sequence.
Yeah.
Wow. Like
no, I feel like the beginning and the end were all that had any weight, and the rest could have been anything. All right, super quickly then. Better or worse than Aquaman 2018?
Better.
Okay.
You don't agree?
Unfortunately, I'm just gonna have to say I didn't. Nah, not for me.
Okay. No, I can understand that. It's fair.
I said it tried to subvert some tropes, but was ultimately lacking in direction. At least Aquaman has a direction. He's going towards the water. He's finding the fish. Yeah, no, unfortunately,
I can understand
that. I'd watch it again, but I'd probably need that Xanax you out.
I think watching it again, like, you would enjoy it for different reasons because you know how it ends, and you're not like kind of trying to wonder what's
probably.
going on. You kind of know what this movie's about now. But I don't think like when you watch like Inception or these other ambiguous ending movies, like you get more out of the plot the second time.
Yes.
There isn't enough plot to get more out of it, right?
Completely agreed. All right. Yeah. So speaking of that ending, spoiler warning. This is when we talk spoilers for The Green Knight.
You want to try this? Because
talk me through the ending. Talk me through it.
I don't think I even can. Like, I think you're gonna have to do this one. Like, basically, you see.
Look, I've watched video essays on this since I watched the film, and I feel like I still am not 100% sure on what happened in this. Like. So essentially, it comes to a head, pun intended, with like a dual ending.
Yeah.
So the first one you see is he meets the Green Knight, right? He gets to his destination. Yeah. He gets to the end of his journey, his hero journey, and
his trek.
Yeah, the first ending is that his cute little walk. He said like 6 days, like. Come on, bro.
Maybe you want to go to England and Scotland. To be honest, it looks very nice. The moors, anyway.
Yeah, well, the first ending is that he essentially runs away from his destiny, and he sees his life play out, and it's a sad, cold, grey, depressing life, and he gets to the end of it, and at the very beginning, his mother's given him this sash thing that when he wears it, he can't be hurt, basically, and that's how he escapes the Green Knight. And then at the very end, when he realizes that his life is crumbling around him. His castle's been taken. His city's been taken. His castle's been taken. He's about to be dethroned as king. He takes the sash off and proves that he never really escaped the head chopping because his head just immediately rolls off. It's really random to watch. But
it's pretty like it was a crazy image.
I think it's trying to say that he never really escaped his fate. It was always hanging over him. He was just sort of. He was just one step ahead of it. And the other one is it then flashes back to that moment where he is in front of the Green Knight and he keeps his word. He takes his sash, his lovely little sash. He takes his sash off and the Green Knight lops his head off.
Yep.
Or
and he says something to him, doesn't he?
Did he? Or did he? My opinion is of that ending, the Green Knight turns around and says, "Now off with your head," and kind of gives him a wink and a nudge. My thought on that ending is that he doesn't actually cut Gawain's head off. What happens is he passes the trial. Let's talk about this in a moment. I think it's his mother's trial. I think his mum is trying to make him grow up, like you said in the first place. He passes the trial. He has learned to not be so self-centered and to think about, his actions have meaning and are going to affect other people around him. So I think he's learned his lesson. So I think he gets away with it, but it's left ambiguous enough that maybe he still gets his head cut off.
Yeah, and not ambiguous in a way that makes me wonder how it's related to the character, to be honest. It's just but that was a good summary because I saw half the ending recently, 2 days ago when I watched, they streamed it and I just skipped to the part that I didn't finish on the plane and half of in that crazy state on the plane. So I was like, nice. I don't even remember which part is which. It's all blending together.
Brilliant.
But I think you did do a good summary there. Look, I thought the ending was weird because so much of the part about the green sash and saving him also ties to that last trial where he gets it. And they made a deal where he would feed him, he'd go hunt, and and the Lord says he'll give him a cut of his meal but if he finds a gift during his time there, he will give it to him.
This was Joel Edgerton's character.
Yeah, am I making that up?
We'll talk about that whole bit in a minute. That's a whole weird fucking scene.
But I guess that didn't really, was that supposed to tell? Was he supposed to be giving that gift to him and he didn't and he lied?
No, that was a completely different thing. I think the gift that he got when he was in the Lord and Lady's castle was that he basically got pleasured by the lady. He got what he wanted in the end. He was seduced by her. So I think the Lord wanted to be seduced and pleasured by Gawain. I think it was a tit for tat thing. That's what I think it was. He leans in and kisses him or whatever. I don't think it's anything to do with physical things. I think it's the emotional.
Well, I thought it was implied that he said that was the gift, but he basically was lying. He knew the real gift was the sash. Maybe
I don't know. I actually don't know. I think that's going too far. I didn't even think he knew about the sash. But just really quickly before we move on to that scene, there's some interesting tidbits from like the poem and all that stuff. And I did like a tiny bit of research to just try and understand a bit of this fucking movie. But the Gawain's mother is a character from that poem called Morgan Le Fay, who is, different interpretations. Is sometimes Arthur's
nemesis,
stepsister or something. I can't 100% remember. But basically, what's interesting is that scene at the beginning when she had the thing blinding her eyes and they were doing the spell. She was creating the Green Knight. And my question to you is, the point of it is to purge the court of anyone who lacks virtue, essentially, right? Get rid of the moral corruptness. But my question to you is, do you think that in that scenario where the Green Knight rocks up, the point of this is to get rid of anyone who's morally corrupt? Do you think Gawain, how you say his name? Do you think he was the intended target of the Green Knight? Do you think he was a pawn? Like, what do you think it is? Think it's a test for him alone?
Well, isn't there there's like a cut where when the Green Knight comes in and they obviously chose a feeble King Arthur for a reason.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe it could be implied that she's, because a lot of the old stories, she's estranged from him. Right.
Okay.
King Arthur. So it's like it could be implied that it was targeted for the king. And there's a cut where he's like, when no one's going to say anything, his hand kind of feebly goes for his sword. And you're like, oh, he's going to be dead and he's got to do it. And maybe this was like, a targeted, almost like assassination kind of style thing. Because they knew that no one would do it. And so that part makes me think yes, but then the whole thing with the failure to launch plot line makes me think, is it that? And those two kind of ideas are kind of in conflict. They can't really, it's got to be one or the other. So I don't really know.
No, I mean, it could not be. It could be a case of that the whole point was it was supposed to rid the court of Arthur and Guinevere, but Gawain basically took the bullet for them. Which I think that would make for an interesting storytelling angle to it. And then essentially she has put her own son, Morgan Le Fay, she's never named in this, but she has put her own son in harm's way almost by accident. It's almost like collateral damage. She doesn't seem to give a shit. And it's like, I think that would give it a really interesting angle, but like that's never built upon. You don't see those characters really again in the movie.
Well, that's my point. Like if they made it all about her and her desire to kill the king, it's like, well, wouldn't you think that they would flesh those characters out more?
Treason! It's treason! Sorry, I'm going a bit delirious over here.
Yeah, I think they keep it vague there just because they want to appease like the people that like that poem, and there's a bunch of different interpretations of the poem. So they're like, oh,
yeah, of course, yeah. And I mean, from what I could read, the poem itself is sort of like a chivalric romance almost. And the point sort of like, it's kind of about emphasizing knightly qualities and heroism and shit. But like, none of that comes out in this. This is all about like a dumb, frustrating child who can't seem to get off his ass and do anything. But I mean, maybe that's the choices that were made for this film. Maybe it was supposed to reflect society in a way,
Yeah, man, totally. Most of the movies I've been watching have really weird endings. Like, oh, I totally forgot to say, I actually saw House of Gucci in theaters on Monday.
Really?
So that's one of the ones that I should have said in the beginning of the episode. Oh, look, I quite enjoyed it. It's getting mixed reviews, but the ending is so like random and funny.
Talk to me about Jared Leto super quickly.
Is he in it? Who's it?
Yeah, he's
Jared Leto.
He's the main guy. He is Gucci. The granddad or whatever, the dad or the granddad or whatever he is, just in loads of makeup.
No.
Yeah. That's Jared Leto.
Granddad. No, there's Al Pacino.
Like the old dude with like the balding guy. Look, we're getting way off topic here. Let's talk about this another time. One scene we've talked about a lot is the mushroom trip scene, and we haven't really called it that, but it is. Essentially, what happens is there's a bit when Gawain is stumbling through the forest. He's hungry, he's cold, it's been about a fucking day, so I don't know how he's that hungry, and he manages to find a mushroom and he just chows down on that motherfucker. He's like, nom 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 nom, give me all this mushroom. And then he stumbles out of whatever caves him, and there's like a thing that pans across the screen, been like intermission, and he's having like a mushroom trip, and there's all these giants and stuff, and that throws up an interesting sort of character and point around. What do you think the fox's significance was? Like, what was that?
The fox?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that was just a really cool scene. That was like when I saw that part of the movie, I was in a state of just like, okay, I'm gonna ride with you, Dev. I wasn't analyzing it. I wasn't analyzing, but I remember that when he eats the mushroom and he trips and he sees the giant. No, it was I just took it as a cool scene. There's probably a lot of analysis for it.
I think it's supposed to be a test. Like he's trying to take the easy way out and go the quick way by walking on a giant's shoulder. But I read a thing that was saying the fox in the tale is often a reflection of himself. So he's in a way stopping himself, letting himself take the easy way, and he has to go the hard way by not jumping on the giant's shoulder. It's just a fun scene, man. Like, I like the fact that he just chucks in this weird, trippy, like...
As if he needed to, by the way.
As if it needed to be trippier more than it was. Like, fuck, man. Come on, help me out here. But we've talked a lot about the scene where he goes to the castle, and it's got the Lord and Lady. You know, it's got Joel Edgerton. It's got Alicia Vikander 2.0. Like, I thought that whole scene sort of... without being sort of rude, like I liked what it did for the movie. I thought it made a lot of sense, but I thought it kind of derailed the movie a lot. It was like,
really?
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
you're here with a couple of days to spare. Like, why don't you just chill the fuck out and do nothing for a few days? Dev lost all of his agency. He didn't really say anything. He just kind of agreed with stuff, and he let everyone just talk at him for like the 30 minutes. I was like, why is this here?
I think he was like really, I think the point was he was like really, really like anxious thought he was about to get there. And then it's like, nope, you have one more thing. And it was kind of like he was in a state of like, you know, pent up anxiety kind of being released. And they kind of give him a moment to like analyze, okay, like before you're about to die, like what is death? What does all this mean? Like why, like, I kind of liked that scene. Maybe it's because I like the actors.
I think it was just too long is what I think I'm trying to say. Like, it didn't need to be half an hour. I think they could have, you know, made it more focused. And I think that's one thing that we've mentioned a few times.
Yeah, that's fair.
In a roundabout way. Look, I've got one more note in my spoilers. And then, you know, if you've got anything else, great. My last one was just... and looking back, actually, I think I've been really harsh with this note, and I'm probably going to redact it afterwards, but I just think it's funny to tell you the state of mind I was in when I was writing my notes about this movie. I just said, I can't tell if the movie did Gawain dirty with the writing, or it's supposed to be totally ambiguous, as if he was making any personal development at all. I feel like maybe I was a bit harsh.
Like, I don't know what he learned through all this.
Well, I think he learned at the end, like the ending is him learning to accept his actions have responsibility. He has responsibilities, and his actions, you know, matter.
But like, what did he actually do to learn that?
I guess he learned that he could lose his head if he doesn't start pulling it out of his ass. that should be the tagline for the movie.
I don't know, man. I just think it's like there's not a lot of character stuff for how like. It's just there's a lot of just like nonsense.
Yeah,
like,
I
and I'm
agree.
like, okay, this doesn't really apply to him and his choices. This is just like really weird shit happening to him. But I liked the weird shit.
Completely agree.
Yeah, like it's like I liked the weird shit. And by the way, to get back off topic, I now know who you're talking about, and I cannot believe that's Jared Leto.
Crazy, right?
And I have mixed feelings about the character. Some parts are really funny. Some parts are just way too over the top.
Yeah, apparently he sounds like he's trying to do a Mario impression the whole way through. Look, let's
yes, he does.
Yeah, let's finish this super fast. Do you want some true or false trivia before we wrap up?
Do I?
This is one of my favorite parts of the show. So, in the film, the Green Knight arrives on Christmas Day. In the original poem, he actually arrives at Easter.
Yeah.
True or false?
Why the change? I think this is actually true.
It's actually false. In
the
original
it's
poem,
New Year's Eve.
He arrived
it's
on
New
New
Year's
Year's Eve. Yeah. You knew it. You knew it. I'll give you it. It's fine. You knew it. But like, I don't see any. I mean, it doesn't change anything. I think Christmas is just.
What's the difference?
Who cares? All right, here we go. So I actually really like this one. So for the scene where the Green Knight meets the knights at the round table, He was supposed to be on a horse. However, the horse provided little in the way of acting chops. So actor Ralph Ineson spent most of the time being wheeled around on a horse dolly. True or false? Did the horse play ball, yes or no?
Yes. This is false.
No, it's true. He was on the dolly the whole time. This apparently happened because the mare was in heat. So Ralph, who's a real life apparent excellent rider, just couldn't handle it. Like this fucking steed was all over the place. Final one. In most tellings of the Sir Gawain and the Green Knight story, eventually Joel Edgerton's character, the Lord, is revealed to be the human form of the Green Knight. Is this true or false?
That is true.
It is true. However, in the movie, it was obviously left pretty vague. And in fact, I don't think they had any connection in this.
I don't remember that part well enough to say. I think that there is something that's hinted, but I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't. I was reading that in a review. I didn't catch it myself.
So are you rewatching this movie, yes or no?
I would rewatch this movie. Mainly because I saw it in such a weird state and then finished it in a different state. Like, I do kind of want to watch it in a universal sitting, you know?
Yeah, all right. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I like that.
It, yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for sticking with it. We do really appreciate it as always. That was
always
less meandering. I mean, it was less meandering than this fucking movie was.
That's for sure. We always appreciate talking about this stuff and the listeners, and I appreciate Tommy's takes for sure. Even when they're just completely wrong.
I like it when we disagree.
Yeah.
I like it when we disagree. It's great, especially on the Aquaman thing.
We agree, and it's like, well, I guess what else there's there to talk about?
Well, that's not fun.
You're right. You're right, dude.
just patting each other on the back. No, you're right.
I quite enjoyed this movie, but it was a bit trying at times for sure. So I'm excited to do something a little bit different.
If you're going to watch this movie, come into it without watching the trailer, because it gives it a completely different movie.
It is true. I wonder why they did that. Is that just for a marketing appeal?
I mean, it got me to watch it, so
yeah, so it worked.
I'm clearly that demographic who's stupid enough to watch that trailer and think the movie's going to be the same. Look, we've got a little bit of correspondence, if you don't mind me moving on.
Oh, yeah.
First and foremost, I want to direct you to a message from I mentioned up top, our awesome social media guy, Lockie. Thank you for the message, Lockie. He said, listening to last week's pod, loved the content as always. Thank you very much. But he was left with an unanswered question. And it wasn't actually about the movies we talked about. It wasn't about any of the news. It was actually about, he wanted to know more about the story of you almost getting punched on New Year's Eve. Can you give us the PG version?
Oh man, just caught in the middle of drunk people. That's like the PG version.
All right.
Now there's it
was almost getting punched. You didn't actually get punched though, did you?
No, I did get punched in the face.
Oh, you did?
I did, yeah, directly to the face. I sent you a picture. It was, the guy got a lick in, and it got me square in the face, and I was like, ow, that hurt a bit, but not that bad. And then I de-escalated the fight. It wasn't like I got knocked around. I just got a little. This is
way outside of our geeky hemisphere. I'm surprised surprised you got brought into this.
I was the French man. They have strong emotions, and I've got a crew of French amigos, and I don't know. One thing led to another. Two, they were in an argument, and I had to get in between some people. And when you get in between to de-escalate, sometimes you get your collateral damage, and that was what happened.
Well, but, I'll step away. I've been punched once in my entire life, and I've never been in a proper fight, I don't believe, but that's a different story for a different time. Next bit of correspondence super quickly. Friend of the show, Matt, messaged in. Matt, we love memes. We love memes. We love dumb stuff. If anyone has any memes you want to send, please send them our way. We absolutely love them. I've just sent it to you. It's sort of a meme, this one, but it's one of these, you can only keep 3. So your choices are Avatar: The Last Airbender, Lord of the Rings, Marvel, Zelda, DC Comics, The Hunger Games, Gossip Girl, The Walking Dead, Disney, The Hobbit, Dragon Ball Z, Supernatural, Doctor Who, Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, Star Wars, Friends, Game of Thrones, Sherlock, and Star Trek. So it's a big old list of various things, and you can only keep 3. The rest will be scrubbed from reality.
What is Zombie Outbreak?
The Walking Dead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't even see that.
It has a title underneath it. Yeah. Which do you keep and which do you lose? I've got to guess.
There's a lot of like obvious ones that I would cut.
Oh, really? Well, you just tell me the ones you keep. It's tough though because you've got to say as well, like Marvel's owned by Disney now, right? Or is
yeah,
it
I was gonna say, but
studio?
like they obviously want you to choose one. So
man, I mean, I don't give a shit about any of the Disney stuff.
So Star Wars. So like you could just go Disney and get 3 of those.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna.
I'm not gonna cheat like that though. I'm gonna say Harry Potter for sure.
Oh shit.
Because I'm assuming this counts like for the books.
Yep.
As well. I'm debating between Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. I think I have to go Game of Thrones. I think I have to go Game of Thrones. But Lord of the Rings like inspired Game of Thrones, so I totally acknowledge that. And yeah.
But you do love Thrones.
And then for my third, I'm gonna put Friends.
I missed Zelda, by the way. Zelda's on there too. That's pretty good. Oh, you're gonna put Friends on there.
Yeah.
Hectic.
Big Friends fan.
I'm a big Friends fan, but I wouldn't take it over some of these, I don't think. That's a tough one, man. I'm gonna go with some. I think you're gonna be a little surprised by at least one of mine. I agree with you on the Harry Potter thing. Completely agree that like it's got references to a lot of other things. It was inspired by a lot of different book series, etc. But I was pretty big to me growing up. So Harry Potter is one of them. The other one is obviously going to be Marvel. It has to be. I can't skip over that. And my third one, I think, is Dragon Ball Z.
That's so random.
I watched a lot of that growing up. It was one of those shows that sort of, I don't know. It was for me. It was kind of like a transformative show where it was like I was at the end of watching dumb kid cartoons, and I was moving into wanting to watch something just a little bit less silly and kiddie. And that was the thing that came along, and I watched that for years, man. If you could tag that out for Power Rangers, it would probably be the same thing. But no, it's Dragon Ball Z.
I hear you, but like Dragon Ball Z hasn't had much for me in years. Yeah, whereas like Harry Potter was the same thing as a kid, and then it's added value over time.
Fair enough.
Same with Friends. So that's the way I thought about it. But look, this is a very impossible choice, and I'm glad it's not real.
We would love to know what you guys think about this. We will post this on our Instagram, and we will at Podcast Assemble. And we'd love to know which ones you would get rid of. Which would you keep? Would some of you like to keep Disney over Marvel? Let us know. We'd love to hear it.
Gossip Girl over Game of Thrones?
Send us a meme, man. Send us memes. We love memes over here.
Yeah, we love memes.
All right. Well, thank you all for sticking with it. Thanks, as always, to our social media guy, Lockie. Thanks to you, DL.
Thank you, Tommy.
Thanks, everyone. Tally ho.